Hi again then guys, and so we've got another special projects build for you today, and like on Tuesday with the Lamborghini Reventon RGT, this is not strictly speaking a replica because the car that I've built doesn't actually exist, but basically what I've done is just use the creative imagination of what we can do on Gran Turismo to build what could have been a racing car that could have existed had things just transpired a little differently. So the base model is my personal favourite car, the Cizeta V16-T, and basically the idea behind this build is to take the Cizeta V16-T and to create what a GT1 racing version of that car could have been like had it been made and had it had gone up against its natural rivals, cars like the Lister Storm, the Marcos Mantis, the TVR Speed 12, the Diablo, etc. It would have been the perfect rival for them. Sure, it was a heavy car, but so were cars like the Diablo, and they still fared well in racing. And basically that's what we've done. We've taken the concept of a Cizeta GT1 car and used Gran Turismo to realise that. So, as always, first I'll show you what I've done for the visual setup on the car, then we'll go over to the garage for the mechanical setup, and finally out to the track to see how it performs. So, being as it is not based on a real model, this car does lend itself towards having more room for personal variation, and one of the ways for that is, of course, the body kit. Now, I personally think it looks the best by far with the stock body kit, but obviously it's a racing model, so we have to tart it up a bit. So we've gone for the Type B body kit. Now, they're very similar, the Type A and Type B, but as you can see, the slight difference is you get the additional chin splitter, or wing extension on the chin splitter, and also on the side skirts. There unfortunately is no flat floor on this one, which is a shame, because it could potentially have a huge diffuser on the back, but like I said, it's a shame we don't have that option. For the wing, I've of course gone for the special wing, which is a Ferrari F40 or F50 style crazy big rear wing. Again, there's room for personal preference because you've got the carbon wing as well. Personally, I don't like that one so much because it doesn't really fit in with the look of the car. But again, just go for whatever you like. For the rims, I've gone for the second size up. And for the particular rim that I've gone for, I wanted to get a rim which looked kind of like an experimental or prototype rim that didn't detract too much attention from the rest of the car. So I went for these Rays VR-G2 rims, which actually come in a black which is darker than any of the other blacks which are available in the paint shop, which is pretty cool. For the additional meters, I chose not to fit any, and the main reason for that is because although it may seem appropriate, they look kind of tacky to me. But again, it's purely down to personal preference. For the colour, this is the biggest personal preference part of all, of course. I went for white. A couple of reasons. One, because it seemed age appropriate for the car. It's this kind of off creamy white from the Honda Type R models, Championship White. But also because, again, it has that kind of unfinished prototype look to it, which was what I was going for. But obviously, just go for whichever colour you think suits it best. For the rims, as I said, I've left it the stock black. And for the brakes, for the same reason, it's a racing car. You don't want to be looking at the bling rims or the bling brakes. So I've painted the brakes black as well, which is Phantom Black from the Chaparral Vision GT car. So a pretty simple visual setup overall. Obviously I've fitted the racing number as well, for I've chosen the 16 for obvious reasons. And that's it for the visual setup. So plenty of room for personal variation. So now let's go over to the garage for the mechanical setup. So for the mechanical setup on this V16R, you want your racing soft tyres, of course. For suspension, seems a little bit weird for ride height, kind of like a hot rod, low at the front and 110 on the back. But the reason for that is because this car, much like the newer model Zondas, like the Zonda F and the Cinque, naturally has quite a high nose. So we've done this to counteract that, to stop that raised nose look, and also to improve its weight displacement when entering a corner. For the springs, we've increased those to 1125 and 1325. Dampers to 6, anti-roll to 7, camber pretty high on 4, neutral toe as usual. For the gearbox, obviously this is not a top-end tune, So we've got an auto setting of 205, then we've rounded off the individual gears to 3280, 2080, 1460, 1090 and 850 with a final drive of 3.6. For the diff we've got the lowest initial torque, and for acceleration and braking we've got 40 and 20 respectively. For the power we have the Stage 3 engine tune, Sports Computer and Sports Cat, and we do also have an oil change, so you need to bear that in mind. And then we've reduced the power down to 89.8% to bring us down to the 575 pp level. We've got the Stage 3 weight loss. I have not done the weight loss on the bonnet, mainly because I think the bonnet pins just kind of ruin the look of the car. We've gone for the window weight reduction as well, downforce set as high as possible of course, and we've got a 62 kilo ballast put all the way to the front to slightly improve the weight distribution, and also again to bring us down to 575 pp. And overall, the specs on this model are fairly similar to a real GT1 car. GT1 models tend to have between 600 and 700 horsepower and tend to weigh around 1,000 to 1,400 kilos depending on the model. So it's pretty well placed in terms of power, weight and PP. So now let's go out to the track to see how it performs. Now overall, the V16T, as much as I love the car, is known for being a bit of a tricky handling supercar around the track because it has very old-fashioned supercar values in terms of handling and weight. It's kind of like a Diablo, designed by the same guy as the Diablo. And for a little bit of backstory, it is actually technically more of a Diablo than the Diablo, because the Cizeta is closer to the original Diablo design than the Lamborghini version actually ever turned out to be. They watered it down quite a lot from Gandini's original design. But as a racing model, it actually feels really right as kind of a vintage style GT1 tune. It handles very similar to cars like the Speed 12, the Diablo GT1, etc., the Lister Storm, that type of thing. And in terms of performance, it can definitely give them a good run for their money around the track. So, if you decide to fit this tune to your Cizeta, I hope you find it fun, of course, and possibly competitive as well if you do use it for racing. And as always, thanks for watching.